ago. So of course, as long as Patsy and Sheila are okay with us taking some time at the end, I'll answer as many questions as we can. And then if we are running out of time, I will happily answer any more questions that we've got afterwards. So first of all, I'd just like to say thank you so much for all of your support. I was really surprised when Patsy said how many of you there would be, and it's really good. It's a good thing because we are really passionate about what we do, and this is what we enjoy doing. We're really passionate about spreading this awareness and education. Obviously really similar into what we do with PWSA UK, especially during the month of May. Now it's awareness month, so it's all really fitting, really, that it's all fitting together like that, and I'm over the moon. So thank you all so much. So a little bit about me to start with, just so you get to know who I am and what I'm about and what it is I'm doing here. So my name is Sophie Townsend. I think you might have seen on, I think I just said Sophie Shepherd, which is my maiden name on the PWSA page, which is fine, because to be honest, I do my husband's heading and still go by my maiden name quite a lot. But my name is Sophie Townsend. My eldest daughter, Isla, was born with Prader-Willi syndrome. I have another daughter called Annie, she's 4 and Isla's 8. My husband's called Matthew. We're all from a really small town in Teesside called Thornaby. I get slaughtered when I talk about being from Thornaby because I'm like a die-hard Thornaby like girl. I absolutely love it. But yeah, love Thornaby, love Teesside. Some people sort of might be picking up, a lot of people say we sound like Geordies, and we're absolutely not Geordies, even though there's nothing wrong with being a Geordie, but we're not Geordies. We're from Teesside, and we're very proud to be from Teesside. So that's a little bit about us and what you know, our little background there. So I'll just go to the next slide. So this is Isla. Like I said, Isla will be 8. Isla will be 9 this year. She's 8 now, she'll be 9 this year. That was Isla when she was born in the neonatal unit at James Cook in Middlesbrough, hospital in Middlesbrough. And she was obviously really poorly when she was born. It only took the doctors there 6 days to diagnose with Prader-Willi. So we were really lucky. They're an amazing hospital, and they've got really close links with the RVI in Newcastle as well. So everything was done really efficiently. The care we received was amazing. The diagnosis stage was obviously really scary. We've got the worst case scenario diagnosis, which looking back was obviously really scary, but we're very, very blessed that Isla's doing amazing. She's in primary school and she's still managing mainstream primary school up to now. She has a one-to-one support at school, who's excellent with her. But we have already decided she will go to a specialist setting for secondary, just because we want Isla to be happy and thrive in the best environment possible, which I'm sure many of you will relate to with that. So yeah, that's our Isla, and that's who inspires me every day to you know, to keep on doing what I'm doing. So a little bit of background on me: I had Isla when I was 19, so I was obviously really young. And at the time I was at college. I wanted to go into the police at the time, and I was working part-time at a retail store near me. But once Isla was born, I sort of changed my mind about what I wanted to do. I thought I might fancy nursing, so I did an access course to get into university to do my paediatric nursing, and then changed my mind again. We thought, you know, we'd be better off just spend some time working and saving to buy a home and extend our family and things like that. So that's what we did. I changed jobs and I started working at a gym, a high-end leisure facility. It was a lovely gym, and I got to know a lot of the clients and customers at the gym. And I was actually headhunted a little bit, or poached, I don't know how to really put it, by a guy called Nathan Steele, who's actually on the call, who runs a company called Bespoke Financial Health. So we are based in Teesside. We are a life insurance company. We're very, very proud of what we do. Bespoke Health, as its entity, is only fairly new. It's only a couple of years old, about 3 years old. We're part of the larger Bespoke Financial Group, who dominate the UK for what we do. We're the best in the country at what we do. We're very proud of it, and we live it. We live and breathe it every single day. So that's just a little bit of background on how I got here. I was never meant to end up in this industry, and the financial services, how I got into it. I never dreamt that, especially sat doing like year 9 GCSE maths, like worst possible thing you could ever have put in front of me at the time. But thankfully I've sort of got over that a little bit now, and I really, really love what I do. I'm really passionate about what I do, like we've said, which is how I've ended up here today. All just sort of ties in together. I don't think I would be able to do what I do without the amazing support of people like, you know, Patty and Sheila and everyone at PWSA UK, and my family as well. I've got an amazing support network family, which I'm really lucky to have that. So that's just a little bit of background. I just wanted you guys to know like where it is I'm coming from. It's like just this randomer that's popped up out of nowhere. Obviously, I've been following the association for a long time since Isla was born, and they're an amazing part of the community and a really, really important part to us as a family. I'm sure all of you feel the same, because that's why we're all here now. So the job they do by raising awareness and educating people is so important, and I like to think that I slot in with that really well and fit in with that, because I'm passionate about you know, raising awareness about Prader-Willi and other rare disabilities and conditions like that, but also about what I do too, because it is very, very, very important. I'm very massively passionate. So when I talked to Patty and the team, wills and trusts was a massive thing that came up, because I don't think it's something that we think about a lot, and when we do think about it, it can be quite morbid, maybe bit of anxiety around it, worry. I'm sure that's very normal for every parent, not just parents of those with special needs. It is a very daunting thing to think about. It's every parent's worst like nightmare, let's face it, to, you know, leave your children behind and have everything in order. So that is what I'm here to talk about today, and hopefully just even if I leave you with a couple of pieces of information that's going to go on to help you, that's all we want to do today. So just a little bit of background on what we actually do at Bespoke Financial Health. We are a life insurance company, so we provide life insurance, which pays out when you die. Critical illness cover, so similar to life insurance, you get a payout, but it's on diagnosis of a critical illness, so that's your cancer, heart attack, stroke, you know, mostly admission into intensive care, things like that. Income protection, especially good for those that are self-employed, but anybody really relying on their income to pay their bills. So if you're off work and you don't receive sick pay, or you're on statutory sick pay, which obviously isn't great, as we all know, and you need that little bit of extra coming in to keep those bills going out, everything's covered. That is what income protection is for. Those are our three basic products that we sell. We sell, you know, a little bit of everything in between that as well. Those are the three most important products that we sell, that we like to raise awareness about, because we need them. It's very important. Can't go on leaving our families behind with, you know, nothing in place. That's obviously, you know, the dreaded GoFundMe pages set up, the Just Giving pages, where, you know, someone sadly passed away and left the families in awful circumstances and haven't got, you know, anything there to back them up. So that's something that we're very, very passionate about. It's our sort of mission, that we never see anybody on our own social media, anyone that we know personally, having to set up a GoFundMe page for any reason at all. So that is just a little bit of background about what we do at Bespoke Health. So moving on. So trusts, I'm going to go into a little bit about the actual trust now. But it's important to note that towards the end, I will also talk about disabled persons trust, which is different. So a trust, what is a trust? So in simple terms, a trust is a legal relationship that gives the right to another when you pass away. So it's you leaving your assets and your any funds, any estate behind to a person or people that you trust, that legal document is there to back that up. So those would be your trustees, so people that you have that relationship with, that you know is going to be there for your family or your legacy when you aren't here anymore. And those trustees will look after either the estate or you know, any money that is left behind, to then pass on to your beneficiaries, which basically sort of says what it is on the tin, the people that will benefit from whatever you leave behind. That's just really, really simple. Okay, so trust, what it does. So with your, especially if you've got life insurance, we talk about this a lot when we are selling life insurance to people, when we're putting those products in place for people, because if you were to pass away and you don't have a trust in place, the first thing that's going to happen is the government is going to take any money, any estate that you're leaving behind, and they're going to take that straight away and they're going to tax it 40%. And that is just something that is probably mind-blowing if you've not heard that before, or if you've never actually spoken about it before. But yes, the government will take your money when you die and take 40% of it away straight away. Another thing that obviously I'm sure lots of people may be familiar with or they've heard about family and friends, the estate and the money will then sit in probate. For a long time, it can be up to 18 months. It can just sit there, the government just deciding what they want to do with it, basically. And the families and people in need will not receive that money when they need that money. So obviously 18 months after someone passes away is like probably a really the most crucial time in those people's lives that are still here, living that legacy, and they're going to need that money to pay for things like funerals, home bills, anything else that comes into it, and the government just casually will just sit there with it for as long as they like. So a trust is something that protects the people that you're leaving behind. It won't get taxed, and it will get to the people that need it straight away. So the first thing we do when a policy goes over the line, when we sell somebody some life insurance, we say, if the worst were to happen and you did pass away, who would benefit from this? Who would you like to leave it to make sure those people would benefit from that? So it just makes sure that those people that you're leaving behind basically are getting what they need when you pass away. So that's just a very, very simple and brief overview on trusts. So wills are completely different. A will sort of expresses your wishes for when you aren't here anymore. Again, it is a legal document, and it's binding in your wishes. So, for example, how you want your funeral to go. Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? Any possessions that you own, if you've got special jewellery or family heirlooms, who's going to receive them. If you are leaving children behind, who are those children going to end up with? Because if, the most important thing with your trust and your will, if you don't express these wishes while you still can, worst case scenario, your children are going to end up in foster care for a period of time, which again is awful to say. My two are still only really little like children. So to think of it, yes, it definitely is that gut-wrenching feeling, but the reality of it is, if you don't do what you can while you are here, that is the worst case scenario. Your children could end up in foster care. So that is something else that you would put into your will to express your wants and needs when it comes to your children. Same with pets, anything like that, it would all go in your will. We have a fantastic relationship with a will writing company, position that we're in the industry, that we are the best at what we do. We've got some fantastic relationships, and we have a relationship with a firm called Dunbar McCarthy. They are a will writing firm, and we actually provide a free will for every single person that takes out life insurance with us. So it's really, really simple. Just to sort of put it into context for anybody that's never tried to set up a will before, if you don't have a will. I once tried to set up a will when Isla was just a baby. Circumstances around our family life at the time of her birth, it was very different to how family life is now. And I wanted to go and do the right thing, and I wanted to set up a will just in case anything did happen to me. I spoke to a solicitor, and it was going to cost me £400 for a basic will. It didn't include trust. It didn't include disabled person's trust. And it was I was sat in this dingy office with this random guy in an old grey suit, and I was 19. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't end up taking the will because it was all so confusing. It just sort of put me off, and I didn't know. I felt out of my depth. Nothing was explained to me properly. So to contrast to that, what we do is we have this amazing relationship with this will writing company, and what we do is we literally send you a link. So if you've got a smartphone, it comes straight to you via text. If you don't have a smartphone, it'll be emailed to you. So I was popping that person on mute there. And it's so simple. It takes about, depending on how complicated you want your will to be, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes to fill out. And then you get a copy of it sent to your address, your documents. You'll get a copy via email. You can go back on your account however often you like, however many times your circumstances change, whatever it is you want to change. You don't have a relationship with that person anymore, you've been through a divorce, you've had another child, anything like that, you can go on and update your will online. There's a 24-hour chat to help you on there if you do have any questions. There's a phone line to ring. I've spoken to them personally myself due to the disabled person's trust side of things. And they were amazing. They didn't even know that I was from Bespoke Health, and I called them because that was another customer, called them with a query, and they were fantastic. So we're very, very proud of that relationship. I'm very, very passionate about it because, again, it is extremely important. Very important. So the risks involved, if unfortunately somebody does pass away without setting up a will, without setting up a trust. So it's thinking about things like I've previously mentioned, going through a change in family circumstances, for example, a divorce, a fallout with a family member, etc., etc. It can end up in the wrong hands if you do not have a trust in force. So if you take out life insurance, for example, and I keep relating it back to life insurance because obviously that's the industry I come from, that's my job, but it doesn't have to be your life insurance plan. It can be your property. If you've got property estate, it can be inheritance funds, it can be anything that you have. If that is not written into trust and you have that legal document, that could literally end up with your ex-partner that you haven't even spoken to, that you don't even have children with. It can end up to a sister that you don't speak to anymore. It can end up in the wrong hands, is basically what I'm trying to say. What about my children? So how do you know how much your children are going to receive? When are they going to receive it? At what age? You don't want, whether your child has got special needs or not, you don't want, a lump sum of money landing on your child that turned 16, because I know how I would have spent that when I was 16, so we don't want that. How much do they get? Do they get it all up front? Do they get it on drip? Do we have to save some for a house deposit, a car, university fees, etc., etc., all these things. Your partner, so are you married to your partner? Do you have an ex-partner? All these things to think about. It just all goes down to sort of who was, if you were married, it's obviously going to go to that person that you were married to. If the divorce hasn't gone through, it's just, you've got no say over it whatsoever. And when do you need to update your will and your trust? Whenever anything significant happens in your life and your baby, if you've inherited, for example, if somebody in your family is passed away and that you've gained an inheritance, that could be a big change. But these are all things as well. This is the great thing about having the relationship with clients, like the relationship we have with our clients is that we can notify our clients about this, and they can notify us when they've had a change in their circumstances. Okay, so I just wanted to use an example just to put it in sort of like retrospect and real terms. I don't know how many people are familiar with Linda Bellingham. She was a TV presenter, I think most famously known for her role in Loose Women, presenting on the Loose Women panel towards the end of her career. I think it was around 2014, 2013, 2014, it's not that long ago at all. Linda was diagnosed with cancer. And obviously, unfortunately, Linda passed away, and she passed away with 5 million. She was worth 5 million in her estate. Linda was married, but had separated from her partner. She had 2 sons, and her ex-partner was actually their stepfather, so not even their biological father. I think at the time, Linda had set up her will in the trust that if anything did happen to her when she passed away, that her ex-partner, her children's stepfather, would just do the right thing and make sure they were looked after, and split that money equally, divide that money fairly for her sons, so that they could take a fair split of what their mum had worked for her whole life. If you're a working mum, ultimately you're working for your children and to leave that legacy behind. So that was just sort of a loose understanding that she had with her ex-partner. It wasn't down on paper, it was just, it'd been a conversation. There was no legality of it at all. And unfortunately, that was 8 or 9 years ago now, and her sons are still battling through a court case to fairly take some of Linda's estate. I think I read that they will end up with less than 50k each, and Linda passed away and she was worth 5 million. And I think the worst part about reading the story is her ex-partner is very lavish with his spending. He goes on holidays and cars and property and things like that, and it's all Linda's money. So it's, you know, very, putting myself in that situation, thinking about it. Obviously, Linda's two sons were adults when she passed away. But just imagine if that was your child with PWS. Imagine if that was your vulnerable child with special needs, not, you know, two adults that thankfully have a good support network around them that are helping them through this difficult time. But yeah, just for me, it just sort of rang true a little bit when I thought about what if that was a vulnerable person? What if they didn't have, you know, the support network there? What if they couldn't manage that? Their abilities didn't, you know, what would they actually do? So that is just sort of an example that I thought would be helpful. So with the Disabled Persons Trust, so I just took a little snippet for the definition when we're talking about Disabled Persons Trust. So I'm just going to read it out. So a disabled/vulnerable person is classed if incapable of administering property or managing affairs because of a disorder under the Mental Health Act 1983. So it's obviously a cognitive, something that affects the cognitive ability, which I think we can all agree on, even though Prader-Willi is a spectrum, it's definitely a cognitive thing. So that would be something we would all need to think about. So first of all, the problems with not having a disabled person's trust in force for your child with special needs is if they are going to go on to receive benefits, especially means tested benefits. So this can be different for everybody, especially if we've got young people with PWS and children with PWS, because we don't know what the future holds. Especially for those, you know, I mean, at the moment, Isla is still managing mainstream school. I know that she'll go on to a specialist secondary school. After that, I don't know whether Isla will be able to work, whether, you know, maybe she'll work voluntary, maybe she'll work with me, maybe she'll want to do something completely different. We just don't know. But setting things like this up now will prevent that worry and that stress later on. But yes, it's going to affect your person living with Prader-Willi if they are going to be receiving any benefits. So just to put that into context, if they receive an inheritance, their benefits can be stopped altogether. So if they're in receipt of a monthly benefit, a weekly benefit, if you were to pass away and your disabled person's trust wasn't in force, the government and, you know, could just stop their means tested benefits or just their basic benefits altogether, which is terrifying. I think that if our young people are living off that, and, you know, that's how they make ends meet and how they check themselves, whether they're living independently or child accommodation or, you know, whatever, that's terrifying to think that we're not there to have a say, and that can just be cut off from our young people without, you know, even a second thought. That for me was the scariest thing, and why I was straight on the phone to put this in force first of all. So yeah, benefits withdrawn. Another thing, financial abuse. So if we were to leave an inheritance to our young people with PWS, you know, how many people around them are going to be able to fully understand and be fully capable to care for our young people? The ugly truth of the matter is they would be prone to abuse if there was somebody around them, they had that amount of money sitting in their bank account, you know, very easily swayed to spend that money on things that would not be beneficial for our young people to spend money on. Unable to manage and use this money to the best of their ability and to the best use of that, what that money could be used for. So for example, rather than be using it on housing and future investments and protecting themselves and their living situation, obviously down the supermarket buying the whole freezer full, which is obviously the last thing that we want. So just being like capable, having somebody in capable hands to use that money to the best way it could be used for. There was a question that I've received before and I've read online before as well, sort of, well, you know, what's the purpose of needing this? Can't we just leave it to somebody else in the family as we would, you know, normally, like siblings, family members, whatever, which is fine. But break it down a little bit further and think about it a little bit more. You know, if you're leaving money to people just on the basis of you trust them to help out your young person that needs it, and that's basically what you do, and you're leaving that fate in somebody else's hands. And then it's the future for that person too. They could go through divorce, they could go through bankruptcy, they could go through really hard times in their own circumstances. So it'd be so tempting for them to use that money to their own financial gain. So all of these things we just need to think about. I know it can feel so daunting, and it's not a nice thing to talk about, but it is something that's very important to talk about. And I think that as long as we've got the knowledge there and the tools there to be able to sort of go in the direction we need to make up our own minds about what is best for our young people, and that is all I want to sort of share with you today. So when you are deciding your trustees for your disabled persons trust, it's going to be, you know, really, you've got to get down to the nitty-gritty. Who is going to be the most trustworthy person to leave this money with? Because that person will then be deciding, making, you know, calling the shots what that money will be used for, rather than with a normal trust where that once that beneficiary reaches that age, that money is then passed from the trustee to the beneficiary. Whereas this is different with the disabled person's trust. The disabled person will never be in receipt of that money in full. What will happen is that trustee will take care of the money, decide how it will be spent, help assist the disabled person, you know, making those decisions, helping them, and, you know, another learning curve in their life, helping them to make those good decisions of where their money will be spent in the best way possible. Somebody also asked me what would happen if the disabled person passed away before they were able to claim that trust. Obviously, again, something that we don't like to talk about. Unfortunately, that's part of my job and that's what I have to do. But if that disabled person were to pass away before they were in receipt of that trust, the trustee again would then be in control and decide where the money would then be split to. So, for example, if there's siblings, other family members, close family friends, for example, carers that have been there maybe for a long time, whatever is right and comfortable in that individual circumstance, the trustee will have 5 years to decide where the rest of that money goes. And then once that money's been distributed, the trust will be closed, and that will be sort of the end of that trust in question. So that's like pretty much a summary. I feel like I have gone very fast and it's a lot of information to take in all at once. But again, I just wanted to be really mindful of your time and then any questions. And I did say to Patsy at the beginning, I feel like you take more of the information away, you know, when you are asking questions or when you hear somebody else ask a question. So I hope that was okay. I hope I didn't go too fast. But anything that I haven't touched on, please feel free to, like Patsy said at the beginning, raise your hand in the chat. Or let us know in the chat if you've got a question. I'll be more than happy to go over anything that we have.